We have a beautiful house, the job we always wanted, the degree, the lifestyle, and yet something is missing. All the things in life we thought would make us happy leaves us feeling hollow and questioning, is this it? Is there more to life than this? From the outside, everything may appear to be perfect, but inside we have a deep yearn for fulfillment and authentic happiness. If you've experienced this, you want to stick around for this episode. In this episode, I have the pleasure of speaking with Kara Payton. Kara Payton is a published author, speaker, nervous system and subconscious reprogramming expert, and top 10% ranked podcast host with 7 years experience working events production and team building for Tony Robbins. Known as a nervous system antihero, she helps women overcome anxiety, overwhelm, and self-doubt to increase their income, productivity, and confidence. As the host of the Happiness Habit podcast and founder of the Unshakeable Woman, she trains highly driven women to reset their nervous system and reprogram their subconscious mind. Hey, my name is Kelly Kessler. I'm the host of the podcast Rewiring Health, and I'm obsessed with helping you stop feeling burnout, living in pain, and anxious about the future. You see, for years, I felt like I was never good enough. I repeated in my head, when I accomplish this, then I'll finally be happy. And even when I accomplished it, there was always emptiness in my heart. I always put others' needs before my own. Negative thoughts ran wild in my head, and I always struggled to truly feel like I could relax and be present. Well, through my journey of healing, rewiring my brain, regulating my nervous system, and reprogramming my subconscious mind, I have recovered from an eating disorder, I have healed from chronic back pain, and I can truly be present with my 2 boys and feel that I am living the life I was destined to live with purpose and with joy. And I'm here to guide you along the same journey of healing. So you wake up, your phone is right on the table next to you, and it feels almost like a magnet. You grab the phone, and before you know it, you subconsciously open every app, scroll through social media, you're on your email, you're looking at the news headlines, and you're feeling stressed. And this is how you start your day. I can't tell you how many times I did this, and it did not serve me. It set me up to be in a whirlwind of negativity, and I was just starting my day. And that's why I created the morning guide for perfectionists. So if you struggle with negativity throughout the day, and it's even worse in the morning because you don't have a routine, this will help you tremendously. It's literally everything that I implement that has helped me start my day with the right intentions and put myself into a place of inner harmony. So grab in the link below and enjoy. All right, welcome back to another episode of Rewiring Health. Very excited to be joined by Kara Payton. So thank you for being here today.
Awesome. Pleasure. Thank you for inviting me.
Yes, absolutely. Well, first of all, I just love what you do, and we're going to dive into it in this episode. But first, I just want to start out with if you could just share your journey of what brought you to what you do today and the people that you serve.
Long story short, just had my own quarter life crisis, just like a lot of us do before we realize, hey, there's a greater purpose for my life. There's a better thing to be discovered and experienced in this lifetime. And mine was no different. I was your average run of the mill mom, working mom, married, white picket fence, all of that. And kind of had a life crisis where I realized, this isn't checking boxes for me like I thought it would. I had all of these boxes checked of what my life, from product of divorce and a chaotic, tumultuous childhood, and did my best to compensate for that by going, okay, all the successful people I'm observing, all the happiest people I'm observing, they got married, they had kids, they have a steady job, they buy a big house, they have a big car, they finance their entire lives away, and they Google how to live their lives. And as far as emotions and the uncomfortable, painful stuff, they don't have it. So I'm just going to pretend that I don't too. And lo and behold, late 2015, things started to come unraveled. First with my personal health. I was a thin person, so I automatically ascribed that was healthy, and didn't occur to me that I was incredibly dehydrated and couldn't even lift my own weight, let alone anybody else's, and found myself winded going up my own stairs at 4 o'clock in the morning because I would dehydrate myself to the point of absolute dying thirst. And
Mhm.
I would be so thirsty that I would wake up in the middle of the night by my thirst. I would be just ravenously thirsty. Go home or go downstairs, chug a glass of water, come upstairs. This particular night, I came up my stairs, couldn't make it up the very, very last one. I got to the second to the last stair at 27 years in my 20s,
Mhm.
couldn't make it up the last stair. I had to pause. And in that moment, it just kind of clicked. The question
Mhm.
of my life in that moment was not, it wasn't a statement anymore. It's like, what if this isn't normal?
Mhm.
What if this isn't good? What if
Mhm.
I feel like I should probably have been able to do that at 20 something years old.
Mhm.
And I didn't have any workout gear, none whatsoever.
Yeah.
Not even so much as a pair of leggings or basketball shorts. I was
Mhm.
not a person who even went for a jog and dug in my closet to find whatever concoction I could find to put on that would allow me to move.
Mhm.
And I found a pair of, I think, shorts that I would have worn over a swimsuit and a couple of tank tops. I didn't have a sports bra. I mean, really just not a workout person. And found myself in a, of all places, a high intensity interval training gym. Not the first place that you start.
Oh,
That's like a
nice.
deep end. I didn't go for a jog. I went to,
Mhm.
I knew myself enough that I would stop and quit and it would just be not good. So I was like, I'm going to go to a gym. I know all of these crazy people that do this stuff at 5 o'clock in the morning. It's 4:40 now. By the time I get somewhere or find where I'm going, they'll be open.
Mhm.
And I sat in front of a gym at like 4:55 in the morning and waited for it to open. And it was only a 30-40 minute workout. That was kind of their shtick, is we only do 3 rounds or 9 rounds, 3 minutes, 30-second exercise in between. I got to round 3 and told the trainer, I need to go throw up, but I'm coming back. And when I come back, we're finishing.
Mhm.
And after the workout, I told him I'll see you tomorrow.
Yeah.
And that started the personal health journey. The rest of it, the big upheaval of my life was walking into my house and realizing that I didn't actively see myself in it anywhere. I
Mhm.
could logistically, I could intellectually put myself like, yep, that's my life, that's my house. But kind of panicked in that moment, thinking, oh my gosh, when I got this house, when I had this Mercedes, when I had this status, when I had this number of dollars in the bank, I was supposed to feel something and I
Yeah.
don't. And
Mhm.
I panicked and audibly said out to the universe, God, if this is all that there is to life, can I please be happy with it? But if it's not, break me open and show me what I'm missing because I'm really unhappy. And lo and behold, sold everything I owned, moved to Japan, ended up
Wow.
moving into an empty house, no belongings, just an empty box, a Home Depot box that I ate Christmas dinner on. It was
Mhm.
2 days before Christmas, so I even taped a gift wrap tree to the
Oh
wall.
oh
And
my god.
that's where the journey started. And from there, it took off. I started volunteering with Tony Robbins, and pretty much the rest is history after that. After doing that for several years and loving every second of it, I knew that there was more to mindsets and mantras, the mind work, and that the things that I wanted to change, I made massive, don't get me wrong, the mindsets and mantras did such an amazing thing for me and got me so much further into my awareness of what these structures were doing in my thought habits and the things that our language, our lens, our physiology was fantastic. But there was some part of it that felt like there was a glass ceiling, that I
Mhm.
was still stuck behind something that I couldn't necessarily see. And then I got started to get curious, and over years' time, developing my own method, I realized that there's an entire other system that's 80% of the work that I was going to go through. And as I put myself through it, I ended up coming up with the reauthentication method and the Unshakable Woman program. And I it started out just me teaching me.
Mhm.
And then slowly over time, I started to go, I wonder if this applies. I wonder if this would help. And I started teaching it. And that's when the podcast in 2020 came along, is as 2020, the conversations around anxiety and depression and all of these things started to skyrocket, but nobody else was speaking to those voices to say, hey, let's talk, let's bring this into a conversation. So started
Mhm.
the podcast, and 3 years later, here we are. with, top ranked podcast globally with all sorts of amazing people on it. And the program is taking off full of fire and spunk and helping people really actually get past the subconscious barriers and what our nervous system holds.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I love that. And then there's just so many things that, as you're talking, I'm like, oh my gosh, that's going to resonate with so many people, because one common theme that I heard, and I've experienced this myself, is that, where externally everything looks wonderful and great. And if someone looked at your life from an external point of view, they'd be like, she's got it all together. Her life is great. She must be happy. But when you're not fulfilled inside and you're not doing that inner work, it's very hollow. There's a void there that can't be filled by any monetary thing. And I think there's so many people that feel that, like, well, what's wrong with me? I have this house. I have so many things to be grateful for, but it's not hitting me.
Yeah.
Or I have this degree, but it didn't hit, or I have this job. And you're always looking for the next external fix to fill that inner void. And I think so many people just resonate with that. And also too, one other thing I heard as you were speaking is this normal, and that everything kind of rides underneath the surface, and we just live in autopilot, and we don't even stop to ask ourselves, like, is this how I should feel? We just live and we constantly just do it, and don't even take that moment to pause to recognize that. So yeah, I mean, just amazing gifts that you've kind of accumulated through that process of understanding yourself and realizing that, yeah, there is more to life than what you were experiencing back then. And it's just amazing that you took that and pursued it and took action to find it.
Yeah.
So that's absolutely amazing. You talk about some of your programs. Can you talk about the Unshakeable woman and how that program works, or what does that look like?
Well, essentially, what the common theme that kept coming up for me in my own journey itself was I kept realizing that I had my favorite flavors of suffering.
Mhm.
And I had the avoiding, distracting, numbing, and going backward. What got me to the point of asking, is this normal? Is this all that there is? Is this what life is really supposed to be? It started the questioning process, and that self-inquiry process dove all the way through the layers of the things that I had done to insulate myself and from the truth, from an authentic expression of who I even was. At this point, I had been through countless relationships where I had become a shell of myself to want to be loved or get the career or get the client or any number of things. I just basically would find myself in a constant negotiation process, self-negotiation, where I'm on the table and certain parts of myself, certain parts of my personality or character or desires or goals or anything was on the chopping block to go, okay, to have this relationship, to maintain this level of comfort, I have to take this part of me all out of the situation. I have to lock it up and store it away. And it's kind of like, the Horcruxes in Voldemort, where you just take a piece of your soul and throw it and discard it and just like, this is who I have to be in order to stay in this marriage. This is who I have to be in order to maintain this toxic family dynamic, or whatever the case. Any number of us, we do this all the time. And common theme, after years of going through that, I realized it's not a missing piece. It's not no piece of knowledge out there. It's not a gap of something that's missing with me that I'm going to find in the relationship and the career and the money and the whatever. It's the unlearning that there is no missing piece. It's the rejection altogether of inauthentic living. I'm not looking for my authentic self or anything out there. Our authentic self is inherent. It's who we are. It cannot be created nor destroyed. It's like energy. It's our personality. It cannot be created nor destroyed. There is a place within you where your aliveness, your happiness, your wholeness is alive and well. It's undisturbed. The problem is to have it restored to us in full sight, we have to get all the crap out of the way. We have to get the things that we've learned, the things that we've had to become, the things we've had to adopt, the things we have to take away that are not us. I call it the not you. We have to unfold the not you to find who you are. And so it is a very intensive, deep dive self-exploration in the reauthenticated method that I use to peel away, sometimes painfully, but always with safety and always with openness, but honesty. There's truth and grace in both parts that guide someone through the process of the perception So there's a 3 Ps method that I use. We find the point of perception, our lens of the world, our language, the way we commonly use our body, our habits, our patterns, our behaviors, everything that's kind of built us as we are now. And we have to get a full spectrum audit of everything. And then we purge what is no longer working for us. And that's where some of our somatic healing comes from. That's where some of our meditations come from. That's where some of our nervous system resetting and our subconscious reprogramming comes from. That's where all of that is implemented. And I love to guide it, but there are self-guided techniques that I use for people that need to do it remotely. But essentially, we are shoving out, releasing out, expressing out all of the not you.
Mhm.
And then what we're left is the very few pieces that are us left, but not yet integrated, just raw information of, okay, I think that might be my inner child. I think that might be some core imprinting. I think that might be a long lost dream or desire I have. And so we just keep what's left on the table. And then the third P is the promise.
Mhm.
Who do I want to be? Who do I get to be? Who is this? These raw pieces that are left that I've recovered now. Who is that? And then building the skeleton slowly but surely, and then putting some meat on her bones too. Like, what does she look like? What does she dress like? What kind of relationship is she in? How does she wake up in the morning? How does she speak? How does she carry herself? And fill that in so clearly. And then all it is a matter of embodiment and repetition, practicing what it feels like to be her. It's not a fake it till you make it. It's not a be it to become it type thing. It is full on. I have an ideal self. I can visualize her. I can hear her. I can see her. There's a reason. It's because you are her, period. We hold out a someday version of ourselves, a someday version of our life. And the problem with that is someday is like holding it as a strong arm. If I'm holding it out in front of me with this fixed distance of it being a someday, as I move forward, someday stays moving forward as well. And someday it's strong arm holding this ideal self, this ideal life away from me.
Mhm.
Now, the difference between that is because I can see her, there is no barrier. There is no, it's a mental construct that keeps me from becoming her right now. And Lori Harder says, I become my ideal self every single moment I choose something she would choose. I say something she would say. I do something she would do. And it's absolutely the case. We can wake up tomorrow. We can wake up now and become our best self, become our ideal self. We just have to make those small little micro decisions along the way that, like, okay, I have a crossroads. I have an option. I have a choice of something to do, to say, to be, to express, to read, to whatever. How would my old habits, we have to be careful with the language, our old way, how would my default,
Mhm.
now how is my design? We
Mhm.
have our default and design. And the moment we choose the design, every single time we choose a design, we choose it. It's exactly how we've gotten to the place where we are right now. We choose it until it's memorized. And that's a habit is just something that you choose eventually because it reaches the point of memorization.
Mhm.
We think that a habit is some sort of mysterious construct. It's like 10 days to create a new habit, 21 days to create. Now we're hearing 7 years to create a habit, 13 months to create a habit. Who knows?
Mhm.
It's different for every person and it's different for every activity. There are things that we can memorize that take a week. There's things that'll take 3 months. There's things that'll take forever to try. And it's something we have to intentionally choose, and it never quite sticks into memorization. But the mechanics of a habit are quite simple. A habit is formed by repetition until memorization. That's it. There's no, how to create a flat stomach in 10 days. What happens on day 11 then? It's just fixed in my memory, maybe, but maybe not. So then does that mean the habit failed or that I failed? Neither is true. So it really kind of helps someone totally reframe how they view themselves, how they view others, how they view the world. And then it works to reverse engineer how we show up that way in all of these places. So we deal with health, wealth, and relationships, because I feel like those are the 3 areas that we get the most tripped up in. People will come to me, I want to save my marriage. I want to save my career. Like my boss, I'm in such bad health. So those are the 3 areas. But ultimately, there's some level of inauthenticity that took place in those, which is causing the pain points and the rub and the anxiety that we go through. Anxiety is just a symptom. It's a signal that said, I'm alerting you. I'm trying to tell you this isn't working. I need you to do something about it. And then we mask the anxiety. We mask the alarm system that our body was trying to tell us, hey, your inner being isn't going that way. So what are you doing?
Yeah, totally. And the big thing of that is that when you don't listen to those signals, they yell louder. And then it comes in the form of more anxiety, more pain, more tension, whatever it is, whatever way it shows up in you, it just yells louder. So we have to honor those signals. And I just like how you explain that too, because it takes that blame that a lot of people put on themselves, like what's wrong with me, and just helps them recognize like there's something I can do this, and that this has been a pattern of behavior that has been a subconscious choice a lot of times and in what they've done, but now they can recognize like what's going on within the system and then choose a better version of themselves and not feel like they have to do this complete overhaul. And I also like how you say, so when, like someday, that no, it has to be now, and it's like we have to choose to move forward now. And if we always wait for the perfect conditions or the perfect situation to make that change, that's never going to happen, because we're waiting for our inner body to change before our external world can change. So it's like,
it's amazing how someday is never today.
Yeah. Yeah. And a lot of times that, there's discomfort in change. It's uncomfortable because you've learned a pattern, even if it doesn't serve you, that's familiar. So your brain wants to go back to the familiar because it knows it's predictable. And so it is a little uncomfortable to change, but it's, I heard it this weekend, hell is getting to your deathbed and realizing that you never lived your potential. And it's like so powerful. Like we're all destined for these great things, but if you're not making those changes to live your authentic self, like you're saying, then you're really missing a big piece of how to live a happy life. So yeah, I love that. And I love your 3 Ps of the program, because it's just, it just makes it so actionable and obtainable, because a lot of times I think people don't really, it seems so obscure, but like when you talk about, we don't have to do these big things, we just have to remove some things, that feels a lot less overwhelming, especially if you're a high achiever, where it can be very overwhelming. And the last thing you want is another job. Like if you say, well, I'll take some things off your plate. Okay. Now the brain's like, all right, I'll join this. So yeah,
high achievers, we do that. And honestly, most of the people that come into my world that are most relieved about it are the ones that were the high achievers, because they want to add to cart, they want to click to access, they want to register for, they want the thing, just give me the thing to buy. And we buy other people's BS to avoid dealing with our own. And it's more distraction, it's more avoidance, it's more of our tactics to stay small. And it's so much easier to blame. My God, it's so much easier to go, I can't help it because of the economy. I can't because my partner won't. It's so much easier because it lets something offset into, we see somebody special out there killing it, owning their stuff and showing up every single day. And it's so much easier to go, well, they had a handout. Well, they had an advantage. Well, they're built different. They didn't grow up with my dad. They didn't grow up and get married to this guy. They didn't end up in the career or the geographical location or anything like that. And I love what Ed Milet said. I watched him speak in Atlanta in January. And he said, the moment you think that somebody else has an advantage, it gives you an out. And it's so true. Our brain just takes on that and goes, yep, see, stay on the board. Do not pass go. Do not collect $100. We're not going anywhere.
I told you couldn't do it. Yep. Yeah. 100%. Yeah, no, I love that. And it's so true. It's like, it is that easy out, versus in like, when you don't make those excuses, you are forced to face that. And now you're forced to face yourself, which is the last thing a lot of people want to do, is just to face those deeper versions of themselves. It's easier just to kind of put it away and suppress things and move forward.
There was the last place I wanted to be was in my own company, behind my own 4 walls alone. It was a miserable place to be. I'll never forget after the divorce, moving into my own house as a single mom, there was a couple weekends in a row consecutively that I would say goodbye to my kids. I'd be at the front door. I'd shut the front door, and I had a system. my avoidance was so powerful. My desire to avoid my truth was so powerful that I had a system. When they
Mhm.
would leave, I'd shut the door and I had all my stuff right in arm's reach behind me, like right around me. I didn't even have to turn around and see that I was alone in my house. This was how bad my avoidance had gotten to a point. I was so unwilling to do the work because I did not want to see what what I was going to see. I did not want to deal with myself. I did not want to deal with my pain or my trauma. I wanted to just numb it. I wanted to go out to the bars. I wanted to find a new boyfriend. I wanted to do all sorts of things. I just anything but simply turning around
Mhm.
and acknowledging the fact that I'm alone in my own house.
Mm.
So I had to have my coat, my keys, my purse, my whatever right in arm's length. So I could literally just turn around and leave
Mm.
right after them.
Yeah.
And I know that pain. I know
Mm.
how awful it can feel. And it's so mind-boggling and inspiring to be years down the line from that. And like my peace, the vetting process of my entire method and everything that I teach people, my biggest proof for me is the fact that when I close my door, nothing happens,
Mhm.
but just a rush of like maybe creative and oh cool, what are you going to do with this space? What are
Mhm.
you going to create right now? What do you get to it's a I'm not dreading being alone in my bed at night with the thoughts do not torment me. They do not run amok and fill me with worry and doubt and fear and start playing these torturous movies over and over in my head. I
Mhm.
don't go through that anymore. And it used to bring me to the point of considering like, is this even worth living? Do I
Mhm.
even really want to be here?
Mhm.
And to walk from somebody who was suicidal, conditionally suicidal, it always had to be something that went really wrong. I didn't live suicidal, but if there was anything that occurred that kind of upset the apple cart in my life, it was so quickly like maybe I just don't need to be here. Maybe it would just be better if I wasn't here.
Mhm.
And the idea that I ever thought like that still blows my mind, but it also is even more, it provides me this like deep empathetic trench for other people. Like I
Mhm.
feel like I could put the whole world of anybody emotionally and mentally suffering just swallow them in my soul, because I'm like, I so know. And I
Mhm.
can so sit there and remember clearly the breathlessness and the emptiness, just the hollowing emptiness. It was anything. I was so totally, completely desperate 24/7.
Mhm.
And so to be able to go through that gave me the ability and the gift to speak to that. I know
Mhm.
what it feels like to feel like the bottomless pit. It's just always bottomless. And so that's where the program really kind of got its depth and its legs, that yeah, it's not some laptop lifestyle coach throwing knowledge from the top of the mountain saying, "Hey, here's how I got my
Mhm.
6 figures in 6 months," or whatever we're snake oil selling out there in the world today. It's like, here's how you can manifest your dreams.
Mhm.
But then they're talking about how to manifest their dreams on their mountain in their desire with their personality and their method and their it's just like it's all backwards.
Mhm.
We need to create a world where people self-reference
Mhm.
my mountain, my desires, my deep trench, my path, and
Yeah.
my healing journey, and get them there.
100%. Yeah, it's all about, whoever's listening, it's about what you're going through right now. But take this as a testament to the ability to make that transformation from going from a place where you describe to a place where now you're able to help people and help the past version of yourself. I mean, that's just a testament to the power of healing and the power of working through the nervous system, subconscious mind, and just living in your own power. So thank you for sharing all that, because it is just a beautiful transformation to see that. And I hope for anyone who's listening, if you're in a place like, Kara just described, like, I hope you just take that and realize that like you can heal and get out of that place and get to a place where you can enjoy life and feel fulfilled. So thank you. For anyone again who's listening and feels like they're in that place that you described, where would you recommend just starting? Because it can feel very foreign, this, big overarching change, but where would you say to that person, like, just to start something they can do today that can help move them just the tiniest step forward in their
Mhm.
life?
Well, first, what I would speak about that place is just to validate that, I spent hundreds of thousands of dollars in therapy, on retreats, on books, on programs, on coaching, on all of the, I mean, I even cast my crown wherever. I was just like, whatever will work. I found myself in church simultaneously, meditating with, I was doing the crystals and the astrology and looking up moon stuff. And I was just like, I don't know, maybe I need a person. I would take every single personality test known to
Mhm.
man. I would just anything that I drove my friends probably nuts. They were amazingly supportive and they were there for me through it all. But I imagine there were some times where like, maybe I just need to cut my ties with this one. She's just a lost cause. And there's a reason why nothing fits
Mhm.
out there. So if you're listening to this and you're just, I can't find it, there's a reason. When we're looking outward, nothing out there is going to be, we're going to look aimlessly. It's like looking for your keys in the kitchen when you swear to God you left them. It's in the kitchen when they're in the bedroom.
Mhm.
You can look all you want. You can open every single drawer, every single cabinet. You can scour the fridge. You can climb into the back of your freezer and look. But if it's not there, it's not there. And if you are endlessly searching, my challenge to you would be, you don't even have to say it for certain. What if it was inside? What if you need to turn inward, not outward? I'm not saying that's where it is. I'm not even going so far as to make a giant claim. What if? Let's just play with it. If you did know the answer, if there was a path for you, what might it look like?
Mhm.
So many of us, myself included, wanted so badly for something to fit so I did not have to do the work. Everybody says, do the work on yourself. And I was like, I have no freaking idea what you mean.
Mhm.
This wine is fine. Thank you. I just need another month on a dating app and I will fix it.
Mhm.
The problem with that is it always has an expiration date. It works for so long. It works for another year. It might get us to, well, I reinvented, I colored my hair, I changed my career, I moved. A big thing for me is I moved. I serial moved and I serial relationshiped to
Mhm.
myself to death.
Mhm.
And I finally had to realize, okay, wow. I'm not going to find myself 50, 60 years old, still going through this damn cycle. I watched my parents do it. And it just was like, all right, stop. This method doesn't work. This modality doesn't work. I'm tired.
Mhm.
If that's you, if you're just freaking exhausted, there's a reason. And your exhaustion indicates your readiness. So I would take some things. First thing I would do is I actually have a breath work and meditation practice somebody can do where if they want to start the healing journey or just the discovery journey or just kind of a releasing journey, something that's like a daily practice that kind of softens your resistance to it all. I have a very easy, shallow end of the pool way to dive in. And that's on my website. We can probably include that in the show notes, but it's at karapayton.com/daily. I think it's maybe 13, 14 minutes long. I may be totally wrong. It might be 15, but it's something you can do daily that compounds itself of just that inquiry, like what would the most authentic version of me look like? What would be even truer than what I might be buying right now? What's true? And every single day asking what's even truer. Just slowly kind of tiptoeing because it can feel like a lot. And I don't know how many times I took the healing journey and was like, no.
Mhm.
Just know, because I pictured this massive mountain and unveiling and all this discomfort and losing everybody I loved and all of that. It's not really the
Mhm.
way it's meant. It's not a peel off the band-aid and just bleed out type of thing. It is slow, and it can be slow. And for a lot of us, you know, we don't need to have the information to take one step. That part is just like, can you get yourself to just take the one step?
Mhm.
Because the information you gain in step one prepares you for step two, and so on and so forth. And then it's just every step I take prepares me for the next. But the first one is more or less a blind faith. Can I just try one more thing? Can I
Mhm.
give myself one more day? Can I give myself one more hour? Can I give myself one more chance? And
Mhm.
really that's a lot more powerful than any of us give ourselves credit for.
Yeah, absolutely. It's that compounding effect of just those micro habits that you just give yourself that choice to move one step closer to where you want to be. And I heard the comparison of like a dark room where there's a staircase. You can't see the end of the staircase, but you have a flashlight and you can see the first step. But once you hit that step, now you can see the next step. And you just can stepwise yourself to that destination. But you can't expect yourself to see the whole journey because you're never going to see it when you first start. So it
Exactly.
is.
And I love that you
Yeah.
use darkness as an
Mhm.
analogy, because
Mhm.
my business coach Alonzo, he asked me a question years ago when I was in a really, really dark pit and I was feeling very hopeless and very honest. Honestly, he's known me for years. And so I tend to get really ornery and give him my raw, ugly tangles. And I'm like,
Mhm.
Alonzo, you don't understand. This isn't freaking working. And I was just angry,
Mhm.
like throwing everything, getting ready to just throw notebooks and all of it, just like screw it all. It doesn't work.
Mhm.
And he asked me, Kara, how do you take darkness out of a room?
Mhm.
I was like, and I'm thinking about it. And first I'm thinking literally and stubbornly. I'm like, how do I take darkness out of a room? I don't know. What do you talk? What do you, what a dumb question. And he goes, how do you make a dark room less dark? How do you remove the darkness? And then it occurred to me, you don't. You add light.
Mhm.
And the light eventually became to me this ownership of my authentic self.
Mhm.
And so, light, more authenticity. We do not have a problem with authenticity. We have a problem of an abundance of inauthenticity. And we need to start removing the subtraction and making it simple. And so that's
Mhm.
why I developed that practice that is, you don't need to find yourself.
Mhm. Yeah.
You need to find your not self and tell her
Mhm.
to go kick rocks.
So true. Yeah, it's so true. And it's like we all have that version that we show the world. And then it's like behind closed doors, we know there's another version of that self. And it's like the bigger the gap that is, the more inner turmoil we experience. And it's decreasing that gap to the point where you don't need that gap. You don't have that version of yourself they have to show the world. You're just you. And then just accept that and allow the world to see you for who you are. And it's just,
And
yeah,
it's hard. I
it
mean,
is. Yeah.
when you think about it, it's a beautiful protective measure, because if
Mhm.
I give you some sort of fake BS version of myself and you reject that, I'm
Yeah.
scot-free. I'm off
Mhm.
the hook. If I
Yeah.
try something and it fails, but I didn't put all of me into it, no big deal. But a big but.
Mhm.
If I gave my heart to you authentically, if I showed up 100% as I am, if I tried to launch this thing and put every single bit of true me into it
Mm.
and it fails, I'm screwed. There's nothing to block that pain from piercing me,
Mhm.
absolutely piercing me. And it's vulnerable. It's
Yeah.
absolutely the most vulnerable thing. Authenticity is freedom, but it's also vulnerability.
Mhm.
It's putting yourself out in the arena and going, I don't have a shield, y'all. This is just me.
Mhm.
And Brene Brown talks about this
Yeah.
beautifully and shifted my definition of vulnerability. She defines it in a very beautiful way, but the way that I actually defined it was a little bit more.
Mhm.
True authenticity is required for vulnerability, which means then vulnerability is not only the willingness to be seen, it's a willingness to be wounded,
Mhm.
knowing that it will happen. You're going to be criticized no matter what. No matter if you, I think Winston Churchill says, if you don't want to be criticized, don't do anything, do
Mhm.
nothing, be nothing, stand for nothing. So whether we're standing for BS or we're standing for truth, either
Mhm.
way, criticism is coming our way. We
Mhm.
might as well not be miserable in the process of the way we carry ourselves or live our lives. That way we can have peace. I may not have peace there out in the world because I showed up authentically, but at least when I close my doors at night and I'm alone with myself, I'm not also in hell. It's
Yeah.
just a beautiful trade-off for that.
Absolutely. And I know that piece that Brene talked about, and I just love it. And she talks about how if you're not in the arena with me, then screw you for having any word about what I do. And I just,
Exactly.
it's so true. Like, unless if you're doing a healing journey and someone else isn't also trying to heal themselves, then they can't say anything about what you're doing. So yeah, but it is absolutely a difficult process, but it's absolutely needed. And again, you can stay where you are, but if you're truly not happy where you are, then you have to move into that direction of healing from within and start seeing life for what it can be rather than what it is. So yes, I completely agree. It's beautiful. And thank you for sharing that for sure. For anyone who wanted to work with you and connect with you, where can they find you?
Well, for those who are really crazy remote and want something a little bit more bite-sized, I will be launching a workbook that is called Reauthenticated. It's a guide to personal freedom and confidence that will be on Amazon September 1st.
Mhm.
But for those who are like, no, whatever she's got, I need the absolute face-to-face. I do subconscious reprogrammings and nervous system resets, and I do the very, very 90-minute intensives where we go all the way in, and it's guided and it's self-referencing, and you walk away with the tools that, yes, we do it while it's guided first, but then I give you every single step that's like, all right, now here to self-perform this. This is what you need to ask. This is what you need to prompt. This is what you need to do, etc. So that way I, of course, being the facilitator is it's such a life force. It's so good to know that like I had any part in somebody's breakthrough, but ultimately it's not for me. It's not my knowledge. It's not my story. They're not my revelations. I didn't get here by myself. So if I were to need it to be something I didn't go, okay, here's how you exactly copy, Pete, rinse and repeat for yourself. I'm a gatekeeper to somebody's breakthrough. And that's not, I absolutely will not stand for that. So my mode is we guide you through it once. We get you to absolutely hone in on that diamond clear breakthrough that you had. And then for anything else that comes up, because there will be new levels, new devils, it's cheesy as hell, but it's true. You need to know how to repackage that and self-implement. And so the 90-minute, I think some of them have 90 minutes because they are a little bit more. Some of the subconscious reprogramming and the healing and moving through a traumatic situation does take more time. And I want to make sure it absolutely covers somebody. So we don't just like, okay, we got to here and you fell off the cliff because we didn't finish the job. But that's all at karapayton.com. You can contact me there. As far as personally getting in my circle, knowing who I am and my horrendous sense of humor, I'm on Instagram. That's the only one that I'm the human behind the screen, just because I'm socially conscious about what social media and screen time does to our minds. But that is where I actively am. So those are my three best ways.
Great. And I'll put everything in the show notes too for anyone listening who wants to connect with you. That'll all be there. Well, thank you so much. I've truly enjoyed this conversation. I think it's something that will benefit many people, because I know there's so many people, especially in these times, who feel that disconnect, feel that they want more in life and don't know where to get it, and just feel like there's something greater than what they're experiencing. So thank you so much for sharing your journey and sharing your insight and all that.
Absolutely. I'm happy it was valuable.
Yes, absolutely. And again, for anyone listening, if you haven't done so already, please subscribe to the podcast and then share this episode too with someone who you think would also benefit from it. So thank you again, Kara.
Thank you.
Thank you for spending your precious time to listen to this episode of Rewiring Health. My mission is to inspire hope and healing through science-backed practices. If you found value in this, please share with 3 people and leave a review. By doing so, this message can be spread to those who need to hear it most. Also, to get updates on the most recent episodes, please subscribe to the channel. Thank you so much for being part of this community, and I am forever grateful for you.